The
Research.
onslaught. Love it. You ready for your intro, Sage?
Oh yeah, maybe. Should I do it now or give me the cue?
And we are live. Hello, Sage. Do it.
All right. I hope you can hear this. Oh,
Oh, music to my ears, literally. Thank you, Sage, for bringing the vibes to our review sessions.
it's a new instrument.
Wow. When did you get that?
uh, I think I bought this back in Indonesia, but I'm sure you can find it on anywhere. It's kalimba.
I like it. I think I had one when I grew up. I don't have no idea where it came from.
Hmm.
Do you have one, Baptiste?
Not with me now, no.
Fair enough. Okay, what are we here for today?
I
Oh.
think we're supposed to talk about Wagtail.
Yes. And the title we landed on is Combating the Onslaught of Features. I thought this would be a valid, like, globally encompassing term for what we're up to. Um, Sage, do you want to give us a problem statement?
um, I don't know. That title sounds interesting. Why don't you want features? I thought we want all the features.
We do love features. We do have a tendency to, our public roadmap is generally half of the items are features, I think. About half maybe are developer-focused features, the other half for CMS users. It's an important balance for us to have. But we only have room for so many features, lest we risk technical debt or cognitive debt, as people phrase it these days in the AI universe. And also, we only have so much time for reviews, I suppose. How much time do you spend on reviews on a daily basis, Sage? If you were
Oh,
to average?
it really depends. At least 3 hours, maybe. If we do have a backlog that we need to get through. Well, we always do, but you know, um, and sometimes when I'm working on other things, I have to prioritize those. But I think usually when it's closer to uh, feature freeze, for example, where we're usually done with features, or I guess during the feature freeze period, we're done with features and we can use the time to review our backlog. And in those cases, I would spend more, but I guess on average day, at least 1 or 2 hours.
Yep. That's the kind of budget we have, times how many core team members we have, times how few of them actually feel like they have the expertise or um, capacity to be reviewing things that could be quite challenging. Um, we can only fit in so much, and yet if we look at our like pulse charts in GitHub interface, we see in the last 30 days merged 18 pull requests, but there's been 41 opened. So it keeps trending up and up and up, and we just can't keep up, is the problem.
Yeah, it's not sustainable, I think.
It's definitely not sustainable. We have reached 150 pull requests opened. I have never seen that high of a number for Wagtail ever. Not that the precise figure matters, but it's certainly a sign of the underlying trend there.
And I
And
can remember just a few months ago we were down to like 89.
yeah, had broken below the 100, and yeah, and it's a good health indicator for the project that there are pull requests getting opened. Um, but it's not going to be sustainable, as you said, unless we can also keep the pull requests getting through the pipeline, keep that in check. Um, and yeah, I guess like just this is burying the lead a bit. The big reason why this is happening, I think, is AI. Is fair to say. Um, People have a much easier time approaching an open source project like Wagtail and proposing changes to it. I think AI slop is a term that lots of people are familiar with these days. There's definitely some elements of that here where there's people that are frankly probably a bit clueless and just give us pull requests that are complete nonsense. And what I mean by complete nonsense is just like Django templates inside React components type situations, like it's pretty clear that this isn't gonna work. But there's also just lots of improvements that are being made that are actually pretty correct. But it's not because they are correct that we have any more time for them, I suppose. Like my go-to example for this these days is like improvements to our error handling on specific scenarios. That's really useful in a broad way, but there are some scenarios where really is it worth our time to add better this or that there? So we have a problem, I suppose. Baptiste, I don't know if you see this on other projects too. I assume it's a global thing. It's not just Wagtail, right?
No, it's just Wagtail. AI is not impacting any other open source projects right now. It's just Wagtail. Yes, I think this is the times we live in. I think it's all about shifting the dynamics of converting a one-time contributor into a repeat contributor. And it used to be that because the barrier of entry was higher to opening a pull request, the people who would open pull requests tended to stay around and maybe open a second pull request and a third, and they would become more like this was a path to becoming a core contributor. But these LLM tools now that are so readily available have lowered the barrier of entry, which in some ways is good, but in other ways, I think it shifts the workload onto maintainers.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of open source projects essentially drowning under the load of all these. Even if we assume all of them are well-intentioned, there's just too many people opening pull requests that require reviewing, that require the in a way the emotional labor of open source, right? Welcoming someone, teaching them the ropes, the tools you use, the processes you have, and yeah, it's I don't think it's a fair fight for the maintainers.
Yep. And there's definitely, a problem that some really good pull requests are getting hidden in that. I guess onslaught is definitely the way to put it. Um, and I think that just for clarity, like if we could keep up, I'd probably be happy with the increased amount of contributions, even if the quality is uneven. It's just like we can't keep up. It's just impossible. So we have to I guess we have to adjust how we work to find those opportunities to keep up so that we stay sane. I think is the TLDR here. Eventually, maybe we'll have a different workflows to support higher amounts of PRs. Just for now, it's probably gonna require us to be more selective on what's coming through. And yeah, I thought it would be a good conversation topic for today is actually how we become more selective about what we want people to contribute on. Um, I don't know how much time either of you might have had to look at our triage processes before. So I thought we might start with a quick look at our diagram for this. I thought GitHub had, yeah, more full screen option. Have you seen this before, Baptiste?
No, I mean I
Um,
have seen diagrams before, but this particular one, I'm not sure.
so let's say this is you, Baptiste, to the
No, this
left.
Alex is my friend Alex.
It's Alex. Okay, let's say it's Alex. And Alex is a contributor. and Alex is really keen to contribute to Wagtail. There's different types of contributions that they could be making. I think for today, we're going to say that Alex is making a feature request because that's where we think there's the more room for us to change our process. And this is kind of Alex's workload here. Initial workload is making that feature request. And from then on, there's workload for our maintainers to process that request. And then once we've done that processing, some other contributor could come and say, okay, I'd like to work on this. Thank you, Alex, for writing the feature request. Someone else might take it on. Or Alex might decide to take it on. And there's a key flaw right there, which is that in a current pipeline for those requests, first off, there's not necessarily anyone else that's going to check once the request has been received that, yes, it sounds reasonable, we should proceed. And second, that kind of check currently we leave it to anyone and everyone to provide the feedback basically on the request being made. So when we produced this diagram that represents our current process, we alluded this issue with this notes that we need the needs sounds good status to confirm that at the point of the feature request having been made, we do need someone else to say like, oh yeah, this sounds good, or on the contrary, no, it doesn't. Yeah, Sage, I don't know how we came up with that wording, but I guess the idea is we'd have that kind of label there from the get-go when someone opens a feature request, and then someone else would have to take it off. Was that the plan?
Yeah, some kind of clear way to communicate that, this was just an idea that someone suggested, and it's not necessarily something that we would accept a PR for right away, because we want to know if it's just going to help that one specific person. We don't know, like, what are the implications? Is it, because it could be like one very specific use case that's not very useful for anyone else, or it might affect other users in a worse way, so we
Yeah.
we need to that kind of confirmation first.
It might
And
affect other
yeah.
users, and it also affects our maintainability of the project very often.
Yep.
Just people requesting customizations that are way too much work for us to sustain. Often also people requesting like very widespread changes, like, oh, I'd like to make sure that every page chooser in Wagtail, or maybe every button should have this or that different thing done to it, which, like it only takes a few seconds to request those things. It's going to take us weeks, maybe months of work in some cases to make the changes happen. So we need to be really careful with what expectations we set there.
And sometimes even an idea could be good, and like we could agree on the principle that yes, that would be a great thing to have in Whitetail, but there are different ways to approach it, like to implement that feature. And we'd like to know like the advantages and like the drawbacks of um each way to do it, and like the considerations before someone should jump in and create a PR, because that's where it usually takes some time to actually get it accepted.
Yeah.
And if someone just jumps in with, hey, I made it this way, and like, because we'd like to know, why didn't you, did you consider the other ways? Like, is this the best way to do it? We don't necessarily have to always do the best thing, because it's not always possible, but we want that bit of research done into it, not just someone jumping on it and like even worse, asking an AI to just do it, because you can do that in less than an hour, just a few minutes. But the time it takes to review those and like consider the alternatives and so on, that's the bigger chunk of work, I'd say.
Yeah. It's a bit tricky though, because when you say jump on it, like I also definitely appreciate it when people who have a clear understanding of the problem go straight for a solution that they know is the right one. I think there's definitely contributors who understand all of this enough that they'll be able to tell, like, yes, this is the only way to do it. I should get on with that, probably.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't mind. I think my main concern is just the person who contributes to it has to take accountability for what they submitted, and like they could say in full confidence that they have reviewed it and like, okay, I did it this way because for A, B, C reasons, not just they prompt an LLM, do it for me,
Yeah.
submit it, leave it. Like that's not what we want.
Or
You want them
even,
to prompt the LLM to give them the reasons why they did it.
so that's the thing. Like, that's the thing, because that's definitely an issue. To me, like, I don't necessarily expect them to have full confidence, but at least be clear about which aspects of their approach they're not confident with, so that we can interrogate that in particular.
Yeah, which parts have been reviewed by humans? That's what I'd like to know. If it's completely LLM, uh, we could do that ourselves if we wanted to.
Yeah. So, so then earlier on in the pipeline, we need to change how we triage those requests so that it's more explicit that this thinking has to happen. And then when it comes time for the pull requests, we need either for the pull request to be tied to an issue where that thinking has happened, or if the pull request is just out of the blue, make it clear that you should have to share it along with your thought process, I suppose, is the.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What do you think, Baptiste, when you contribute to a project? How much? Because I want to be careful here with burdening people too much. Do you will you always like make sure there's an issue first and then a discussion? Do you feel like sometimes you can just go and make the PR? How do you decide what's the best way to spend your time to make a given improvement?
It really depends on the size of the improvement, right? And
Hmm.
also the type. My favorite issue to fix is like a small bug, because then it's usually easier to review, especially if you come up with a test case. You can clearly show the issue, and then the issue is fixed. And then if you have a pull request to start on, it's a good starting point, and you can then later argue with the maintainer. Not argue, but like discuss what if that's the best approach. But at least you have an approach to start with. Um, Coming up with I think typically the phrase we use is like a pony. So you arrive and you say, I want a pony. Um, it's like this magic feature that you want. Um, it's very, it's kind of the easiest thing to do, right? You have this idea and then turn it to a feature request. But the actual work, as Sage mentioned, of like deciding on different alternatives, how it fits within the project, what levels of extra work does the project want to take on, those are really, they require much more work, and it's work that has to be done by specific people. It's not really possible to have a global community of people with all their agents and all their varying levels of expertise contribute to this part. It's just, I think by nature it has to be done by a way smaller group of people.
Yeah, because that's the people that have, I guess, the background knowledge of the project or just the expertise.
Yeah, but also the people you trust to come back if there's ever an issue.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, that's the
remember,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not a one and done situation. After the code is merged, it's not like it's gone. It's living in the code base, and we have to keep maintaining it. And if something ever, it comes up, like whether it's a bug or we need to update it in one way or another, it's usually on the maintainers to do that. It would be great if the original contributor would come back and like help us with that, but it's not something that we can expect out of everybody. So it always accumulates with every single thing that we merge.
Yeah. And like thinking of what you said, even the pony requests, to be honest, they can be pretty valuable, because you definitely want people who point out things that are like could be kind of glaring to them, and to you they might be in the back of your mind for ages without necessarily having crystallized into a request. It's just like, when people make requests like this, then then you don't want someone else to jump on it right away and be like, let's do it. There has to be some amount of um, brewing, I suppose. Maybe we should have a request of type like idea, and then be explicit that, yeah, there's space for ideas, like random ideas, but like it's not gonna be something that you jump to. Is that something we should do? Like, hang on, what happens if I click new issue? Bug reports, documentation, discussion. Yeah, so I guess discussion here, that could be reframed to ideas if we wanted, or we could have one more item here to guide those towards our discussion forum. I guess suggest an idea. Yeah, See,
Do
that's
you
the problem.
control
Yeah,
do you control the order of templates?
I think so. Yeah.
I wonder how many people just pick the first one.
No, they usually it's rare for people to choose the wrong one. I think the main reason that someone would choose the wrong one is just our, definition of what's a bug, what's a feature, rather than just going in the UI. Oh, so we don't actually control them.
I think it's based on the file name of the template. So if you want to order them, you could name them like 01 bug report, 02 feature request if you want that to comes up the second.
Or just with emoji. You just have to know the order of emojis.
Do you think the order of emoji is predictable? Like,
Absolutely. It's just a character like any other.
So
yeah,
which one goes first, the egg or the chicken?
Oh, it's the egg. Everyone knows that.
I wanna test this now, but yeah, that'll be fun. Um, yeah, okay. So potentially more options in here so that we guide people towards a format that better matches what we expect to need to happen once they've made their uh, request. And then once the requests come through, a process on how we have those discussions as a community. And as you said, like we probably need at least two different states, one for like community input and one for maintainer input, I guess is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Maintainer, I'm taking notes as we go through this.
Sorry, I
Community.
got it wrong. The chicken is first.
Oh no. Did you test it in code?
Yeah, I put the code. It's a one-liner. I put a code in our Zoom chat. I don't know how to put it somewhere else.
Sorted. Okay. Do I have like a Python in the browser environment? I'm sure there's like a MicroPython. Yes. Do you think your code works in MicroPython? Hmm.
Mm.
This is either not working or loading 40 megabytes of WebAssembly. Okay, Baptiste, I will leave you with homework to produce a
You have to put a
type-coded.
print. There's no output. You have to put a print.
Oh, do you think it's that? Well, now you have to vibe code a front end so we can see the output of salted egg chicken. Please and thank you.
Will do.
Um, Okay, yes. So maintainer input, community input, and then at some point there's a decision needed. Has there been enough input?
I think, um, yeah, needs decision is usually the one that requires core team input, right?
Yeah, so I think then we're gonna expect our core team to be deciding whether the input provided has been sufficient so far. So it's not necessarily so much, yeah, I guess it is a decision on the approach still. Do we want to reuse this existing label, is what I'm asking, or do we want something a bit different? Because this feels a bit daunting. I feel like when I add this, it means like, oh, serious considerations here.
For a
That's
long
true.
time, the Django project had a tag or a category or state, I forgot, but that was design decision needed, abbreviated as DDN, and that was the graveyard of things you
Yeah.
didn't really want to deal with that maybe were good at. It was too hard to say no to them, too hard to actually implement them or decide on what was the best. And so that tends to be the category of like, yeah, things there go to accumulate and then just wait that the person who asked for it goes away.
Outlive them.
I think
Outlive your con-
there's a very like social aspect of like, how do you say no? You know,
Yeah.
it's it's not easy to say no.
Well, 100%. But we're very lucky for Wagtail. My official job title is Wagtail Product Lead. So I'm basically paid to say yes and no. Yeah, but there's only one of me. So I think we want the no to be a bit more distributed if we could. Um,
That you're saying the yes needs the no to win against the no.
Where does that come from again? Remind me.
That is a vintage French meme.
Yes, yes. I wasn't sure how much it translates to. Have you heard of this, Sage?
No, what is it?
Oh, it's. I don't know if this is PG enough, but
It should be. It is a ancient French prime minister, I believe, who had
yeah,
terrible English, and this was in the context of the some referendum relating to the EU. I think maybe the EU constitution. Um, that's probably a good 20 plus years old.
yeah.
Oh,
It's
It's
marketing.
a high-ranking French official with terrible English.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
The yes needs the no to win against the no. It's literally what he said. Oh, anyway, there's yeah, French politics. Um, okay, so we're saying we can reuse this label if it doesn't turn into a graveyard. So, Sage, what do you think? Is it already a graveyard? Do we need another separate graveyard?
What is the difference between like? So hang on. A feature request comes in. It needs
Yeah.
community input, and let's say enough people have provided their inputs, and then what would you say is what would make it different to our current needs design decision?
Hmm. I guess in my mind, there is a case where someone comes with a feature request and it seems pretty clear what should be done. It's just a matter of do enough people need this to warrant it happening? And then there is a separate case of this is a gnarly problem, like a valid problem, but pretty gnarly. And we need someone to, I guess in your diagram, you had this as write an implementation plan. Like sometimes the issues, the feature requests come with that plan, and then it's just like a thumbs up that's needed. And some other times someone needs to do that. I don't know if the nuance of the two is worth having separate status for though. Yeah, I think in my mind, design decision, it's more there is multiple competing implementation plans or no implementation plan at all, and someone needs to sort one out. Whereas the more common situation is we just need to confirm that the plan is kind of there enough. Does that make sense?
Right. So whether the implementation plan already existed or not and just needs like a sounding board
Yeah.
compared to um yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess that could warrant a new label. Not sure what to call it though.
Yeah. I'm a bit hesitant on how many labels is the optimal amount of labels, because I feel like the more you add, the more complex of a process, but also at least the more you add, the more explicit the steps of the process are. And if you have a label, it's somewhat self-documenting. I don't know how much the working on this section is working so far. Because like we could explain this in those kinds of like instructions for contributors, but then there is a fair chance that people just don't read this, or just like visually none of this stands out enough that people notice. At least the label, you can't argue with the label being there. So yeah, I feel like I'm leaning towards the side of more labels, more granular triage.
Yeah, I think what I personally would appreciate is if there's a clear, actionable, like here's what needs to be done for this thing to proceed. It could be, based on the labels. So yeah. So like for example, these status labels, maybe in an ideal world there can only be one. Wait, no. I mean you can have needs tests and needs docs. Hmm.
Yeah,
But
definitely the fewer the better.
yeah.
Yeah, there is a few things where you could like need both user research and UI design or design decision,
Hmm.
but you don't want, yeah, you don't want too many either. Okay, so I'll try to come up with a new needs, some kind of confirmation of implementation plan, and we can keep needs design decision for the gnarlier. Um, we need someone to spend time thinking about this, not just like thumbs up.
Hmm.
Okay, and then once you've done those things, at the point of removing this label, we add a new accepted label
I think that.
already.
Mm. Are there any other considerations?
If only we
Well,
had a diagram.
I feel like at some point it has to have an accepted label that would make it much easier. Because okay, the if a PR comes in and the issue has an accepted label, we can be confident that it has gone through enough of that process.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I guess that's this congrats state here where things could still, we could still change our mind later on. There's some further tree edging that could happen, but normally it's definitely ready for pull requests. Um, yeah, so basically it's either accepted or some other kind of unambiguous, ready to be worked on terminology.
Yeah, because right now I think our list of issues are a mix of, there are some diamonds in there where we have issues that are actually ready for people to work on, but yeah, it's drowned in all the other stuff that hasn't gone through that process.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely some diamonds in there.
Show us a diamond.
Um, so there is some diamonds that are a bit rougher than other diamonds. I think this one, for example, I think I would qualify it as a diamond. Um, it's been a while since it was opened, and it's definitely always been an issue with Wagtail that was always easier than we expected, than we wanted, sorry, to spend time working on a draft, and then for one reason or another, the draft doesn't save. And I think it's been very daunting because, in order to detect this or save anyway, there's just like some amount of fairly intense engineering needed. But now it's so much more approachable. Um, it would, because we've implemented autosave, and it's literally now just a matter of better showcasing this state, because we already know that we're in this state. It's just a matter of showcasing the state in the UI. Is that a valid diamond?
Yeah, I think I would say so.
Do we have other diamonds? Ah, this one is a diamond as well. That's something that I think someone shared in our discussions. And it seems like such a clear win where in the CMS we have administration of user accounts, and we show who's an admin, but we don't show which groups people are part of, which is particularly useful. um,
Yeah, but I think you need to consider the performance as well.
do you?
Mm,
There's probably a prefetch related or two that needs to
yeah,
happen, but it should be doable. I would be worried about. I've seen a lot of groups. People, because it's so easy to create a group or a role. People love to create them,
Yep.
and I've seen sites with like 100 plus. And what happens when someone is in all the groups?
Yep.
That's gonna change the layout of the page quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it takes the entire screen just for one row of the table.
It's a diamond. Like you have to refine it. It's not like a guaranteed home run or anything.
Was so many metaphors.
No, but yeah, like this. I don't know if it's a pony, but like pretty clear. I can see the need for this right away. Definitely, there's a need for discussion on exactly how you display it. And performance-wise, like definitely too, but I suppose that's why we paginate those views, right? It should be
Yeah,
safe
yeah.
enough to do this for 20 users at a time.
Yeah, but for example, I guess this is an example of a good comment because it also goes through these performance considerations, but those were not in the issue originally. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, that's the kind of thinking that we'd like to see before someone just submits a PR, for example, without having prefetch related, and then we have to um, yeah, the review would be so much quicker if all these discussions have been done firsthand.
If only people came up with perfect feature requests.
Well, no, that's the point of
Oh,
discussing
sorry,
it in
sorry.
in the
Yes,
issue.
we discuss it first before someone spends their time building it in a way that isn't quite right.
Yeah, that's my point.
Okay. Well, the next thing we're going to need to do once we define all those extra states is writing down what's helpful to do in each and every one of those states. So we'll need to have a list of, okay, like when we say community input, okay, we need to share use cases. Okay, we need to like explain how frequent of a need this is. on its maintainer input, will be like, okay, consider performance, consider the UI. I think we're going to need to write all of that. It's going to be good for us, I assume, to document this. That's things we consider anyway, just without necessarily it being explicit, right?
Yeah.
Oh, another diamond. Look, this has been like sitting there, innocuously tagged as a UX enhancement. It's almost like you could just make a pull request and go for it if you only looked at the labels and nothing else. So I think this needs RFC.
But there's an RFC for that.
Yes, but now the RFC needs approval, I suppose.
I guess so.
Do you dig RFCs, Baptiste?
Not really. I'm not really an RFC person.
It's tricky because it definitely feels like, we are here is this feature request we don't know quite what to do with. Let's burden you with hours worth of research and technical analysis and architecture decisions. But I suppose sometimes it is what it needs.
Absolutely. But I'm more of like getting my hands dirty kind of person,
Yeah.
and the RFC is too abstract for me.
Mm.
But sometimes it is the answer, and sometimes it is a way to get rid of someone you don't want to say no to.
Yeah, I wonder how RFCs are gonna evolve in the AI world because so much more approachable to do proof of concepts now. And sometimes it does feel like, it's not necessarily that needed to have your ideas written if you can just show that it works in this or that way. Um, I think we have a good plan, no? Community input, maintainer input, accepted, needs some kind of um, confirmation of the approach. So that's 4 more labels. I just need to write this up as a proposal, take it to our core team.
The
Happy
needs
days.
confirmation thing does that replace or is that basically our current needs design decision label?
No, I still think we'll have things where we need, like we should convey separately that someone needs to. Yeah, I guess in my mind this clearly separates, but I need to think of how to phrase this.
Yeah. I think
in-
my what I'd like to see the most is the accepted label.
yeah,
That would also make it much easier for new contributors to, okay, I can pick from this list of issues that have this label and have a bigger chance of it being accepted because the issue is already accepted.
and then we retroactively add it to existing issues, or the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, if that's a bit where if we have time we'll go back through, like, or if someone leaves a comment on an older issue, like, so that it gets our attention and then we see that, okay, it makes sense, we can just add the accepted label. But we might not have time to go through all the issues, but I think if we could go through all of them at some point, that would be great.
Yeah, I think Baptiste is on the money with saying we should always also say no. I feel like I'd love to say no to half of these, just so that the other half sticks out a bit more as like the here are the things that actually move the needle meaningfully.
Hmm.
I think letting an issue go unaddressed is just like I'm going to say the coward's way to say no, even though it's not really cowardice. It's just like it's really hard to say no, but in effect, it is a no when you just don't choose it. So being able to say no is a lot more explicit about your intent not to pursue this. And if you can put up a process in place that makes it easier to say no, I think that's also very valuable.
Mm.
I think one of the reasons why we don't close it right away is because we want to hear from other people who might need it, and leaving it open makes it easier to discover.
Yeah, yeah. I think the problem is definitely though like this current label, or I guess lack of status label. It becomes really time consuming to have to figure out for a given issue. Is it of the type that you can pick up now? Is it of the type that it's underwhelming and we don't know how to respond to it? Is it of the type that it's promising and we just need more information? This makes me want to spend the rest of my day reviewing all existing feature requests.
I would just take the last order by activity, take the last 5 pages and close everything.
Do you think?
Don't even look at them. No, I'm being facetious, but
Honestly, you're probably right, because definitely the one that has the least activity, they're the ones that are easy to open and hard to make progress with.
I mean, I'm always wary of these kind of auto closing stale issue types of like bots or whatever,
Yeah,
because sometimes, it's the usual stuff. It depends. Sometimes there's a good reason why something hasn't happened, and like we've mentioned a few times, autosave, this giant feature that shipped recently that's has been in the works for forever. Maybe now it unlocks things that can make these old standing issues like tackleable. So sometimes it depends. Sometimes you want to close all this old stuff that aren't really relevant anymore. Sometimes some of them, like I used to do this a lot with Django, of going through old stuff and trying to figure out if they're still relevant. Sometimes they've been fixed already. Sometimes another change made them irrelevant. I think that can happen a lot with projects that span years.
yeah,
But yeah, no,
Yeah,
closing all
or
the old
the
issues.
person who submitted the issue doesn't even care about it anymore. Like
yeah.
they moved on.
Even them have moved on. It's just
Yeah.
you, the maintainer, staring at something that no one else cares about.
But also maintainers come and go. Like sometimes everyone who was involved in this is gone.
Yeah,
Some people like,
Yeah, it's a relic
well,
of an old world.
yeah, but it doesn't always mean that there's no value in them anymore. Like that's kind of the beauty of open source, is that it can also transcend people coming and going, and like, but there's still value in the code or in the problems it solves, or the issue being described can still be solved by people who have not, you know, everyone's gone, but the new person comes and solves the issue, and then it adds value. So
yep, yeah. Our process, or at least my process for this in Wagtail in the past, has been definitely no auto closing at a set time. Like it's so grating. I'd much rather do it as a human, even if it takes me a bit of time now and then. But try and move some of those things to discussions so that the discussion is still out there. You can still add to it, but just be clear that there's not necessarily going to be. We're not sure that there's going to be any one change that could meet the brief for the improvements. No, this has happened. This has happened years ago. But maybe not enough. Anyway, I think we should leave it there in the interest of time. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to um, reviewing our backlog. Well, first making a proposal for this new triage process and then reviewing our backlog. There's one thing we haven't discussed, I'd really like to discuss at some point. We do have people like Baptiste in our community who aren't on the core team, but I think have pretty good, I guess, taste when it comes to. I mean it, taste when it comes to triage and decisions on Django projects. So one thing I'd really like us to try is actually to not necessarily have this just rely on the core team, but a wider pool of trusted contributors, which, um, yeah, I guess is a whole other story. How would you feel, Baptiste, if I granted you the triage permissions for the Wagtail backlog?
I'm not sure I would feel confident in making these kinds of decisions. So like closing and moving things forward. But I think I go into moods where sometimes I feel really hard to say no to people. It's like I feel very empathetic. Oh, it's a person coming in his project. It must be scary. They were brave. They put themselves out there. And sometimes, I just see an AI slot pull request. I'm like, well, F this, F this S, and just like close, like no AI slop. So it's I think triaging is there's a very really big social aspect to it of um, you're in many ways kind of the first thing people will see when they enter a new project is, oh, I opened an issue and it was closed uh, by someone saying no and no comment. And it can feel really discouraging.
Yeah.
Or you open an issue and then people like welcome you and like point you to the right place, and then maybe you become a recurring contributor, and you know and then there's a whole range of scenarios in between.
Yeah.
But I do think triaging effectively, you need to kind of feel that you're trusted and that you have the right instincts for moving things forward, or not backward, I guess, to stop them in their tracks.
Yeah, it's a balance. I would like to think that we will still find plenty of time for people who mean well with or without AI to make good requests and good pull requests, but also good feature requests. But yeah, if I can tell that you're not trying too hard, and definitely probably also often means you're using way too much AI, then I only have so much patience and time to spend on that. Yeah, things are shifting. We'll see where we land. Thanks both. It's been interesting, and see you next week.
All right. Thanks, everyone.